You're right on time for another edition of Just Siri, where bold conversations meet real life impact. Midweek might be a pause for some, but here it's a pulse check on the nation. What's working? What's failing? What's not working? What's in between? And what still needs to be said? I am Catherine Obiang. Today, as always, we're going deep. We're asking the questions that matter. Let's get into it.
But first, we'll get to this story, but it's like village people are finally freed blessings. Auntie, can you see?
It's so funny.
Can you see now?
I feel like a Chinese. I think so.
No, you know, every time I look at her watching, you know when you watch cartoons sometimes, and you have those characters who have like droopy eyes and they're sad. Every time I see her, I'm like, I'm so sorry.
When you see her, you blink. You just blink.
It has that effect, yeah?
Yeah. Well, did you see when it started? Her eyes were like saucers.
Nah, at some point I had to be doing, can I see? Okay, yeah, I think I can see. So yeah, we're good. The world is getting brighter. And I'm so grateful for sight. You know, they say you have a new appreciation for things when you go through a period. You know, sometimes you have catarrh, sometimes. Right now, I'm so thankful for sight. God, yeah, you really, it's a masterpiece.
So we just needed to welcome her back. Okay, let's get into it. Now, Nigerian singer, content creator, whatever you want to call him, Speed Darlington, has reacted his earlier admission of engaging in an inappropriate sexual encounter with a 15-year-old girl, a confession that had sparked widespread outrage on social media. The entertainer initially made the claim during an Instagram live session detailing the alleged incident. He claimed to have taken the young girl to a hotel, only to discover she was a virgin and that he didn't like it. I'll leave you to fill in the blanks. He said he gave her 2,000 naira and that he would not try a virgin again. Now, this confession, freely given on his Instagram Live, has landed him in the crosshairs of Nigerians and agencies that deal with this type of thing. Facing public condemnation and reactions from authorities, Darlington has now denied the allegation, stating that his previous comments were not factual. But who was actually getting involved? So the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and the Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, DSVA of Lagos, have both reacted to the situation after everybody and their mama was tagging them. They emphasized the seriousness of such allegations and the importance of protecting minors from abuse. Here's what the DSVA put out. It said that the agency was aware of the disturbing video currently circulating online in which a popular entertainer allegedly admits to engaging in unlawful sexual activity with a minor. While the individual in question did not specify the location of the incident during the Instagram Live, we must clarify that the DSVA's jurisdiction is limited to Lagos State. In view of the above and in line with our commitment to justice, we have escalated the situation to the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. The Lagos State government reaffirms our zero-tolerance stance against all forms of sexual and gender-based violence and will continue to advocate for accountability and the protection of every Nigerian child. And they go on to, of course, drop their numbers and emails, which I hope every single person keeps somewhere as needed, because at the end of the day, it may be this situation or another, but we're all mandated reporters, as Lola Rhodesviver, who is Rhodesviver Adeni, who is the head of the DSVA, likes to tell us. Now, in a subsequent live, Darlington said anybody can make a video on social media, talk about anything, and whip out any topic. You can come live and make up story. I'm not clearing nothing. I'm a content creator. I whip out story out of my head and thin air. I'm not explaining anything. I'm an entertainer. I have to be entertaining to get the bag. I'm not explaining nothing, no video, nothing, end quote. He went on further to say that he's an artist and that artists need controversy to eat, explaining that he has a new song and people shouldn't give the situation more life than it deserves. He says you have to be controversial, and that's what you see me doing in that video, selling my makit. Let's take a look at the reactions, because Catherine already has a reaction here. Let's take a look at the reactions to the initial video. Children cannot give consent. This Speed Darlington publicly admitting to rape. The law should take its course. We can't keep normalizing abuse just because someone is a public figure or says it in a funny way. Protecting minors should never be up for debate. This is really disturbing. At Police NG, please investigate more on this matter. Pedophiles are not meant to exist. Please do the needful. In a normal country, Speed Darlington would not even have the audacity to say he slept with a 15-year-old. In a working country, he would be behind bars right now. No, this isn't a controversial statement to call any attention. Okay, then we also now are looking at reactions from his apology as well. No, this isn't a controversial statement to call any attention. You did it. If the consequences come up, you must face it. Dude, had you been punished for soliciting sex from a 16-year-old, you would have known not to joke with it. Isn't it a crime to solicit sex from a 16-year-old? Isn't there some kind of punishment for that? He can't be arrested without any evidence. I just pray one complainant should come out and confirm so that he can be arrested. Looks like damage control stunt. Please, if you're the minor, these man-child groomed and molested, report to a responsible adult and let them help you take up the case. And that's it.
Unfortunately, Gabriel is right because
you didn't even let me say go.
No. It's true because they cannot arrest him without. But I wish that verbal admission to these kind of crimes is not just strong evidence. I wish that it's punishable in itself because I think enough is enough of having to say things or do things. We've allowed too many things to just go by, and it's not the only person. Unfortunately, there are things that some other celebrities say that I'll just raise my eyebrows. Like, is nobody listening to this? Should then be no punishment whatsoever, at least to deter other people from saying things. You can't just come out and say, for example, oh, I murdered someone last night, and then everybody's expected to keep quiet about it because there's no evidence. I think that we should stop that.
I think Speed Darlington has been given
a long rope.
Yeah. Over time, he has said so many, things, and I think this is how he even gathered his followers because, people follow him for the damnedest things. He says things and gets away with it. I mean, we've seen that with his Burna Boy arrest, and I'm like, till when? This is beyond. This should not even be joked with. A 16-year-old. Wow.
When I started a radio show with Nedu on one of the radio stations, we used to come across his content. At that time, it looked like he was soliciting for, you want to sell your market. You were looking for relevance. But in that time, he didn't go this far. And I know that with the recent controversy, especially involving the Burna Boy, that landed him in where he was landed in, I think when he came out, he just feels the need that he must keep pushing the envelope to remain relevant. And I believe that when he says that, I think it's just a paltry way of apologizing or retracting your statement, because the way you gleefully describe the details on live, and that's the thing, when they say from the fullness of the heart the mouth speaketh. So the way you maybe the response on the live encouraging him, there's a name, Akpi, are you sure that this is what exactly? So all of that was titillating him, and he just kept on talking in detail. Now you're saying, they shouldn't, don't give it more life than it deserves. You are the one that first breathed life into it. So I believe what you sow, you must reap. And I think it shouldn't just end here. I know that we say in Nigeria, Nahu then catch be thief. He's not. There's so many things. We sit on this table and discuss the effects of these things, and we know how many children, boys and girls, are victims of this. And you come on social media live and you're laughing about it, and you want to dismiss it like, I'm just selling my market. Guy, you're not selling your market. It happened. I'm just saying that, okay, like Blessing says, I hope the people who have been involved in this can come up and say. But there's also a conversation from that.
Yes.
There's a stigma, there's a labeling. Who wants to come out and say, so we have the culture of swallowing things and just pretending, let me just move on with it, snap and you move on. It's not so.
So to be honest, it could actually be that he didn't do it. But what I'm saying is there should be consequences for you even saying that you did.
Yeah.
Again, not to sound like a broken record, but I do blame Nigerians because look at all the celebrities that we have. Some of them are with zero relevance. And so if you put them there, you put them there on that pedestal, at the end of the day, they now have to start struggling to maintain relevance. It's bad enough. Exactly. So it's bad enough that people that are actually even relevant are celebrities.
So crowd chasing, accidental celebrity, as Louis said. So aside from that, you say something about you've been knowing,
not to engage.
You've known him for how many years trying to sell markets? Markets never sell. Like your market has never sold to the point that you need to continue to, in your words now, basically manufacture controversy.
Yes.
Your music is not manufacturing success for you.
Yes.
It's not manufacturing selling for you. So you want to manufacture and even if you want to manufacture controversy, it's controversy of raping a child, of having sex with an underage child. That's the controversy you want to manufacture. Does it make sense? But you know what? Sorry, Lois. You guys talk about we talk about it being celebrities, but it's not just celebrities. I keep thinking about all the videos. Remember the guy that I think was E-Money that had to go and report him that the guy was making up stories about E-Money was sleeping with somebody's wife or was it Junior Pope? I can't remember something. And he said at the end of the day that he just wanted E-Money to notice him. See, right now you have a generation that is sold on the drug of clout, on the drug of trending. They're addicted to it. People are sitting in their living rooms right now thinking, okay, if I do this video and I drop it, I go trend.
Viral video.
They want to have a viral moment. They want to build on it. And as Blessing said, we create people who are irrelevant celebrities. After that one viral moment, they're so addicted to it, they're so tuned into it that they're trying to do everything and anything to keep that moment going until you become like Darlington and walk yourself into a situation that you sat down. I watched the video. It was even the way he was saying it.
Younger and younger celebrities are making the same mistake. We've seen this with Pella. Pella is making some statements that, that are controversial as well. And this takes me to the policy makers. In the US, we see some policies that, admittance of some things, even in music, is punishable. So instead of our lawmakers fighting for, we should be able to hold guns, I think these are the things they should focus on.
If they can. No, but it's true because that is a different conversation. And funny enough, when I was just doing the stuff for this, I saw another situation in the US. There's a nurse right now that has been fired and she's going to court. Why? She does lives in her patients' rooms. In the US, you have HIPAA. HIPAA means no patient information can come out. People were warning her on her lives. Do you know what she told them? You people are no fun. You're always trying to suck the life out of something. People are warning you about the consequences of what you're doing. You're saying that they're trying to suck life out of what you're doing, that you're having fun. Now you're in trouble. Now you might lose your license. Now you might be suspended. Your livelihood is gone because you are now using sense.
No, we talked about it, the drug of social media, the drug of creating content, the drug of being relevant. People pay attention to you and suddenly you feel like, whoa, I'm a superstar. So this is paying me, to the detriment that you even forget the oath you swore, the agreement you signed. You know that this work you're doing is holistic and sacrosanct. So in that moment of you're flying high for 5 minutes, you forget your home training, in quote.
And unfortunately, it's no longer even try until you go viral. It's now try harder in spite going viral. So the more viral you are, the more you want. It's an addiction, right? You go viral today, you're like, oh, I got 1 million views. That means I can top it. You see people literally being depressed for getting 5,000 likes because they were able to do one very irrelevant accidental content, like you said, that got them a lot of views. Go to TikTok, you see the height of it. You see people doing crazy things because they want to get numbers.
There are Nigerian students that are currently live on TikTok trying to break the record
of
live streaming.
Okay.
So wait, before
kids.
And before we go on that break, at the end of the day, when you look at all this, Blessing says something. She blames Nigerians. It's the same people that are gassing you up. It's the same people that are saying, you're so funny.
Your comments.
The way they pull their likes, the way they pull their whatever it is. So even as much, I also agree with her. Why are we making irrelevant people popular? Why?
Why can't we restrain ourselves and decide, I'm not going to bite?
I'm not going to engage.
Why? Why is it so hard? We talk about... No.
But I think they should investigate because from the abundance of the heart, so the mouth speaketh. It's not a small thing that he claimed. And even his apology, if you see, if I offended people, just take it. I'm a content creator. I need controversy to eat. You will see where you might end up eating 3 square meals in a prison.
But they tell you. Right, guys, let's move on from that into the business of the day. It's World Menstrual Hygiene Day, and we're going beyond the stigma to talk about the real issues: access, dignity, and justice. Up next on Jassi, we're joined by menstrual equity champion Yeside Olayinka Agbola, founder of Flow Vantage, and Olori Coitus, for a bold conversation titled Pads, Power, and Policy. What does menstrual justice look like in Nigeria? And how do we get there? Stick around, we'll be right back.
Today on Jasiri, we're lifting the veil on a subject too often whispered about but deeply urgent: period poverty. Today is World Menstrual Hygiene Day, a global moment to push for dignity, access, and justice for women and girls everywhere. But in Nigeria, where over 37 million women and girls of reproductive age face financial barriers to accessing basic menstrual products, period poverty is not just a health issue. It's a crisis of inequality, education, and human rights. Imagine being a teenage girl forced to miss school every month because you can't afford sanitary pads. Imagine being told your period is dirty, shameful, or worse, something to be hidden at all costs. While condoms and toilet paper are often available for free in public places, pads remain a luxury many cannot afford. But why? This isn't just about hygiene. It's about policy, power, and the price of being a woman in Nigeria. Joining us today is Yeside Olayinka Agbola. She's the founder of Flow Vantage and Olori Coitus, and one of Nigeria's boldest voices in the fights for menstrual equity. From policy change to product innovation and public advocacy, Yeside has been on the front lines asking hard questions and pushing for real solutions. What will it take to ensure no girl has to choose between dignity and education or between silence and stigma? Let's talk about it. Yeside, welcome to Jasiri. Thank you for joining us. We're pulling you off the field right now because as it is World Menstrual Hygiene Day, you're on the field doing the work that you've been doing for a while. So thank you so much for granting us your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on the show to talk to you about a topic and subject that I live, breathe every day. And yes, I am on the field. I am currently at Ekpe Girls Junior High School, and we are holding workshops teaching girls how to make reusable pads.
Wow.
Okay, so let's
Can you provide an overview of the current state of menstrual health in Nigeria? What does period poverty look like on the ground?
Well, honestly, today, period poverty is still a very stark reality. Like you mentioned, about 37 million women and girls in Nigeria are struggling to afford basic hygiene products. And when we talk about period poverty, it's not just about having pads. It's also about using unhygienic alternatives like old rags, using cotton wool, using foam, and all kinds of things which can lead to infections and long-term reproductive issues. And really, just beyond the lack of products, if you look at how period poverty manifests in girls, they miss school because they can't manage their periods in hygienic ways or because of shame and discomfort. And then we look at women who are in the workforce who face similar challenges because their periods are impacting their productivity and economic participation. We keep talking about women's economic empowerment, and this is something, period poverty impedes that. And it's just a cycle of disadvantage that perpetuates poverty and just limits opportunities. And when you now start talking about people in rural areas and in low-income communities, we now start looking at access to clean water and sanitation facilities, which are poor, but these are very essential to menstrual hygiene, and we're seeing it lacking in many places.
So I'm actually very curious, right? And I know that we have been talking about period poverty for the longest time. I mean, periods have been before we were born. But we see a lot of laws. We see stakeholders partnering with governments to ensure women empowerment. We hear all these conversations. But why is it that in this age and time, we're still talking about period poverty, which is one of the most basic things that could, pads can be subsidized, can be shared to people in rural areas, but we're still talking about it as a major issue. What do you think is the reason for the delay? Do you think it's lack of priority, despite, screaming women empowerment almost every other day?
You see, I think that in a lot of Nigerian cultures, when you think about menstruation, it's something that is still shrouded in secrecy. It's still considered a bit shameful, and there's so many misconceptions. It's considered unclean, menstruation and periods are considered dirty. And so because of this, it's something that a lot of even our lawmakers shy from. The stigma is just so deeply rooted and is passed down through generations. Mothers teach their daughters, who teach their own children, that menstruation is something that should be private. Even for grown women my age and even older, when you're on your period and you want to go and change your pad, you hide. There's a way in which you take your pad in a way that you don't want the person next to you to see it. You wrap it up in maybe a newspaper, you put it somewhere so that nobody sees you going to change your pad or your whatever period product you're using. You don't talk about it. We use a lot of euphemisms, oh, I'm on, and things like that. A lot of girls are not educated about their menstrual cycles even before their period. So there's a lot of misconception, and we also, because we don't have comprehensive sexual and reproductive health education in many of our schools and in our communities. And when we do have the little that we have, we divide boys and girls into different sections. So you talk to girls about periods, but we don't talk to boys about periods. So we have a generation and generations of men that grow up not knowing anything about periods. And look at our lawmakers, most of them are men. They don't understand what women are going through with their period. So for them, it's this thing, okay, yes, it's your period. Yes, it comes, every few days. If you ask, sometimes on my Instagram platform, Olorikoitos, I go on the streets and I ask people questions. And I went and I was asking men how long a period lasts. Do you know that even some of the men said, they think it lasts about 28 days. Some people think, it's something yes, some people think it comes at the end of the month. A lot of men have no idea. Just pull the men in your studio and ask them how long a period lasts for. Most of them cannot tell you a correct answer. So that tells you that we need to not only educate our girls, but educate our boys so that we are all as a community, because if half of our population is experiencing this on a regular, almost monthly basis, we need to remove that silence around menstruation. And this will help our lawmakers and those in policy to be able to institute and enact policies that would actually serve and help us end period poverty.
Yeah, thank you, Yesterday. Let's take a look at the economic and educational impact. How does the lack of access to menstrual products affect girls' education and their participation in their everyday life?
Well, a lot of times, if girls don't have access to period products, either because of economic access or just access in general, maybe because they are in rural areas where they're not able to get this, they miss school. You find out that an average girl is missing maybe about 3 days or 4 days of school. And those who are not even in school, maybe the ones that are out of school, are not able to go to work because they don't have the period products that can help them manage their periods hygienically. Take this and multiply this on a year's basis. When this girl misses school for a few days, she comes back, she struggles to keep up and catch up with what her mates have learned. At some point, it becomes frustrating. She's falling back in class. She's not passing the way she should. She's not doing as well as she should. It gets to a point where she drops out. Now, this is someone who should have been economically empowered, and we have lost this person. They are not able to achieve their full economic potential and contribute to our national GDP. Now multiply this by millions and millions of girls and women, and you can just imagine that impact on education for girls and, further the line, economic empowerment for women.
And on that note, let's expand a little bit. For women who make up a large part of the informal workspace in Nigeria and make up a large part of the entrepreneurs, the micro and the nano businesses that actually fuel the economy, what is the impact on them when they also experience period poverty? Because oftentimes we sort of think that it stops at teenagers. We don't think about it as a situation or something that's affecting grown women, women who are mothers, women who are getting married. We think it's just children, but it goes beyond that. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I'm a Yoruba woman, and I remember that when I was growing up, we used to make moi moi every Saturday morning, and we were told that if you're on your period, you should not make moi moi because it will spoil it. I don't know if you've ever heard that, or all these other kinds of superstitions around periods. And so what we're taught to do is it creates this sense of shame and fear. So even girls that start off with that shame and fear, as they get older, when they become women, they continue this shame and fear and secrecy. And when you now start even thinking about it, when women start experiencing some types of reproductive issues that are tied around their period, perhaps endometriosis, PCOS, they're having severe cramps that are debilitating, they're passing clots that are bigger than, sometimes clots that may be as big as a fist.
Wow.
They don't talk about it. They prioritize the secrecy over their own health and comfort. They instead of just, skipping the social events and all that. I know women that are not able to go to work because they are bleeding so much, because they are in severe pains. Their fibroids are making their periods heavier and so painful. But they keep quiet about it. We don't seek help because, again, it's all part of period poverty, because we have been taught that this is something that you just keep in secret and you don't talk about. So the more that we're able to change the norms around periods and around menstruation, the more women will be able to seek help and be able to live fuller lives free of pain.
All right, so before we go for a break, I know there'll be people watching this thinking just how much are pads, that families are struggling to provide it for their girls, and sometimes women struggle to buy it for themselves. And I think we really need to paint the picture for people to understand how this is also an economic conversation. The price of pads, whether local or imported, has risen by, I can't even tell you. We were talking about it off the air before this conversation. At this point, sometimes you're seeing pads on the market, 8,500 naira. And sometimes it's not even up to 10 pieces. And we want this to be a continuous thing for young girls and for women who are of reproductive age to buy when they have to think about their families, when families have to think about other needs. So yesterday, please talk to us about it in terms of the economic situation women and girls find in trying to access sanitary products for their menstruation.
Like you said, the price of period products has more than doubled in the last 2 years. So like you said, it's also, they're looking at upwards of 8,000 naira. Even the ones that are considered more cost efficient, you're looking at a pack of maybe 6 pads for about 1,500 to 2,000 naira. And you're going to use, in a period that lasts about 5 days, you probably use about a pack and a half or 2 packs of that. When that happens, you will then find out that you will see that you have to now choose between food or buying certain products, like things that you need, food and efficient product, and you're thinking you're choosing between that and buying a pad. And so what ends up happening is a lot of women are now using all kinds of products. Right now, one of the things that we are introducing that some people have already, there are organizations that have started this, and what Flow Vantage, my organization, is trying to do is to show people how to use reusable pads. So there are pads now that we can make out of cloth, make out of materials that we can easily find in the market and easily find around us, that we can then sew and can be reused. Because instead of spending 5,000 naira, 8,000 naira on a pack or 2 of pads in a month, you take this money, you buy these materials, and we make the pads. So what we do is we go into communities. Right now we are in Ekpe Junior High School teaching students how to make these pads that they can use, and we do a training of trainers model where we train them, and then they go on and they cascade this to others using these materials. And that way you can have and you can treat your menstruation with dignity. You are able to experience a period where you're not afraid of being stained. So the girls don't have to worry about missing school. They don't have to, even women that use these pads don't have to worry about missing work because of this. And so this is a more economic, it's obviously better on your pocket. It's also better for the environment, because instead of using a pad that is disposable that you throw away once, you are able to take a pad that is made of cloth, wash it, use it. It's better for the environment as well. And over the line, in the future, we're looking at also reducing fabric waste from fabric manufacturers, people that will collect it, and we're finding ways to actually turn it into pads, which can now be used in economies. And by the time we do this, further down the line, with women in rural areas will now be economically empowered to be able to make these and sell them at a lower cost to girls and women in their communities. And so we're trying to break the cycle of period poverty doing that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Yeside. We're going to go for a quick break now. When we come back, we'll look at cultural and social stigma, which you've touched on a little bit.
According to the United Nations Population Fund, the average woman sees a period for 2,535 days of her life. That is nearly 7 years. 7 years of making sure you have a pad, tampon, or other menstrual products, or worse still, finding a makeshift solution. If you don't, keep in mind that you still have to, manage pain and discomfort in the middle of all of this. Well, our guest yesterday, Olayinka Agwola, will continue this conversation. She's the founder of Flow Vantage, Olori Coitus, and Menstrual Equity Champion. Yesterday, thank you for joining us. Yesterday, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank
All right,
you.
so yesterday, let's continue
Conversations. You're doing the work on the ground and in the communities. So let's talk about cultural perceptions and the stigma around menstruation. How do these contribute to period poverty? And how deeply rooted is the stigma around menstruation in Nigerian culture? And how is it passed down?
Listen, when it comes to the stigma around menstruation, there are a lot of religious communities in Nigeria today where if you're on your period, you cannot enter places of religious worship. So just imagine that because this is deeply rooted in culture and even religion. So imagine you as a woman and you're being told that you cannot go into a place of worship to commune with your God because you're on your period. Doesn't this make you feel like your period is unclean, like it's something that is dirty? You are not able to fast because you are on your period. Now, even when, if you think about what happens during Ramadan, and women are said, oh, they're not supposed to fast during their period. The reason behind this, and in talking to some Islamic scholars, I was made to understand that it's because at this time, a woman's body is going through a lot, and it's expected that she will use this time to take care of herself, and so she's exempted from fasting. However, culture has taken it and shifted it to say that now, because a woman is on her period, she's dirty, and that's why she's not fasting. So we have to be careful sometimes in when we take a lot of our own misconceptions. So there's a lot of misconceptions about it. There are some people, like I mentioned earlier, that they say, oh, if a woman on her period cooks certain foods, that food will go sour. And because of this, women even older women would teach younger women to be quiet about their period, to treat their period in secrecy. And this just perpetuates a cycle of stigma around periods.
Okay, so I'm glad that we're touring the same path because you've talked about some of the religious hindrances and you've also mentioned some, beliefs surrounding period. And I know that there was one that sort of affected me up until a point when I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And that's the point of using medication when you're on your period. I know so many people who still believe that it's either diabolic or medically is going to affect you in the future. And so you see young girls, especially first to third day of their period, literally on the floor, gasping for breath because they're in pain. So with that in mind, what are some of the cultural and social issues that you have witnessed in trying to change how people perceive menstruation, either the women themselves or the society, the men, and how do these social norms influence not just the girls and how they manage their periods, but how the society responds to their needs?
So, like I said earlier, when it comes to managing periods, it's very important for us to have men as champions. Because in the past, and generally how it's women that are educated on periods. So I, as a woman, understand what another woman is going through during her period, but men are not educated about their period, about women and women's period. So if they have a sister at home who's dealing with cramps, if they have a classmate in class who maybe stands up and is stained, they don't know what to do about this. And this goes on as they get older. So it's important. What we are trying to do is also to bring men into this conversation, get them educated, get them aware, because when they are more sympathetic towards a woman that is going through this. Like you said about using medication during period, there are a lot of people that think that they are going to have reproductive health issues down the line if they take any form of pain relief during their period. That some people say, oh, this is there's a school of thought of people that say, oh, we are suffering because of what Eve did in the Garden of Eden, and this is our punishment as women, and it's something we must just endure. Meanwhile, you're not able to stand up, you are on the floor for your first 2-3 days of your period. And some women they're bleeding for days and they think, oh, this is my punishment, this is just my lot in life as a woman, and they're not able to ask for help. But there's help. There are medical advances, there are medications, there are also so many things that you can use to help. And sometimes you have to even look at when you start having those symptoms back to back, when you have periods that are super heavy, periods that are painful, periods that you are passing clots, you need to see a healthcare provider and seek help and not stay in secrecy, because it might be a sign the period is actually what we like to call is actually a vital sign. When you go to a doctor, when you're a woman of reproductive age, they ask you, when was your last menstrual period? You also want to know, like, how heavy is your period? Are you passing heavy clots and things like that? This can be an indication of, situations like PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, and these are things that can affect your reproductive and just your quality of life down the line. And you want to get them checked and taken care of as soon as possible. So making sure that we are getting rid of this stigma is not just about economic empowerment, which is great, but it's also about helping women live the best quality of life that we deserve.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of people that should champion this, let's take a quick shift at policy and advocacy. Are there policies currently in Nigeria that address menstrual health issues? And if yes, how would you rate them? Do you think there's a current issue in acknowledging how serious this problem is?
We definitely have a problem acknowledging how serious menstrual health is. We don't have, right now in Nigeria, we don't have many policies that are supportive to women and their menstruation. If you look, there are countries around the world, if you look at Scotland, if you look at Tanzania, there are countries where and Zambia, you actually have menstruation leave, whereby a woman can have a day or two off in the month for her period if she is on her period, so that she can actually take care of herself. Imagine that we had this in Nigeria. This helps to reduce stigma and shame, and it also helps to say that, okay, you know what, where I work acknowledges that I am on my period and they're doing something about it. Do you know that period products for the longest time were taxed heavily?
Yes.
Meanwhile, yes, it's called pink tax. But I do have to say that right now, a lot of organizations have worked in helping Nigeria to understand that we should not be taxing, because of import tax, a lot of disposable period pads are imported. And those were usually taxed very heavily, just like other products. But now we're saying that, okay, you know what, that taxation is in policy, it has been removed. Now we're yet to see how much in practice it's been done. So period product should not be something that should be a luxury. It's a basic human right. In some countries around the world, you go into a bathroom and you see pads just accessible for free. I would love to see a Nigeria where we're able to see that, where a girl and a woman on her period does not have to think about, where her next pad will come from. You go into a health center today and condoms are easily accessible. You can walk into any public health center and trust me, you are able to get condoms. Can we say the same about pads? No, we cannot.
And that's sad.
Although advocates often ask, if condoms and toilet paper are provided for free, why not pads? And as we were talking like that, I just said to myself, oh. So I just said to myself, probably, those pads will not last for long where they will be kept. But then I digress.
It's as need.
I digress. But yesterday, really, what are your thoughts on this comparison that, if condoms and toilet paper are free, then why not pads?
I completely agree, because again, a pad is a basic necessity. It's not a luxury. The same way you need toilet paper to clean up after you use the restroom is how you need pads to keep clean during your period. So it shouldn't be a luxury. If we can give condoms for free, if we can give toilet paper for free, we can definitely give pads for free, or at least at a highly subsidized rate, whereby we're able to achieve coverage for all, because we're talking equity here.
All right, on that note, we'll come back after this break. When we come back, we'll look at countries that have some kind of menstrual leave policy and also talk about what else can be done to change the conversation around menstrual hygiene. Stay with us. Today is World Menstrual Hygiene Day, and we're using the opportunity to focus on the issue of period poverty, while 37 million plus women and girls in Nigeria of reproductive age are faced with. Now, our guest is a sexual and reproductive health expert. She's the founder of Flovantage, and she's with us today. Now, Iside, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, and I think that's one thing that often annoys me with Nigerian policymakers. It feels like they want to do something new. Meanwhile, people have been doing what we want to do, and we can just take a leaf from their page or their from book, as it said. There are countries who have taken the bull by the horns, as they say, and have menstrual leave laws on the book. So not just the hygiene part of it and the access, but even just acknowledging that women, a lot of women face these issues. So let's take a look at a few. In Indonesia, under the Labor Act of number 13 in 2003, that's how I want to say it, women have a right to 2 days of menstrual leave per month, though these are not additional leaves. Since 1947, Japanese law requires that a woman going through especially difficult menstruation be allowed to take leave. However, the law does not require companies to provide paid leave or extra pay for women who choose to work during menstruation. In South Korea, female employees are entitled to menstrual leave according to Article 71 of the Labor Standards Law and are ensured additional pay if they do not then take the menstrual leave that they are entitled to. In Taiwan, the Act of Gender Equality in Employment gives women 3 days of menstrual leave per year, which will not be calculated towards the 30 days of common sick leave, giving women up to 33 days of health-related leaves per year. And since February 2023, Spain has provided 3 to 5 days per month of paid menstrual leave. And before somebody says, oh, it's just in the West, in Zambia, as of 2015, women are legally entitled to a day off each month due to their menstrual leave policy, and that's known as Mother's Law, Mother's Day. If the employee is denied this entitlement, she can rightfully sue to prosecute her employer. So yesterday, when you see this menstrual leave policy as part of the entire conversation around period poverty, around menstrual hygiene, what policy should be enacted in Nigeria? We can just take, if you had to piece everything together, how would we put a policy like this in place, and what would it look like in Nigeria?
I think that it's great when we hear about, the menstrual leave policies in all these countries. Our first thought is, oh, let's go and enact a menstrual leave policy in Nigeria. I think before we do that, we need a comprehensive menstrual health initiative or policy where we're first looking at education. We talk about educating, but we're not just educating women, but educating women and men, so boys and girls. When we do that, then people can understand better. Then we look at eliminating taxes on period products. Yes, you can reduce import tax, but we shouldn't have import tax on period products, and we should eliminate VAT. We should not be paying value-added tax on period products. So when we have policies with this, we have policies that look at water, making sure that hygiene facilities are provided for women and periods. Then we now look at emphasizing and prioritizing providing menstrual products for students in schools. We can then now start looking at, let us add on. I think the menstrual leave is great, but I think it's an add-on. It shouldn't be a starting point for where we are in Nigeria if we're looking at the reality of Nigeria today.
Yes, despite the scale of this issue, menstrual health continues to be treated like a women's problem rather than a public health or a development priority. What do you think? Why do you think it continues to be ignored by policymakers? I mean, what does it take these government actors, especially male lawmakers, to take this issue seriously?
This is where education comes in. Education. And this is why we're starting at the grassroots. It's not only, we're talking to men. First of all, if we look at the demographics of our lawmakers and our policymakers, more than 80-90% of them are men. And so because of this, if men do not understand what women are going through with their periods, they're not going to prioritize period poverty or ensuring access to period products and things like this. So it's important for us when we're having menstrual education, we're doing it for all, boys and girls, men and women. This will help them be more empathetic towards what half of the population go through on a monthly basis.
All right, so I mean, this is not a novel issue, and according to the statistics that Tolu read, you see that other countries are putting measures in place to make the period cycle easier and less stressful for women. So, if we are a serious country, what do you think are the first 3 things that we need to do as a national imperative that will make things better for the over 37 million women and girls of reproductive age who are affected by period poverty?
I believe that if we're a country, if Nigeria is serious about tackling period poverty, the 3 things we should do are, 1, we should ensure that we have comprehensive education for all. That's comprehensive sexual and reproductive health education for all, not just boys separately and girls separately, but everybody together, coming together to understand what is menstruation, how menstruation affects women and girls on a monthly basis, what they go through, what we need in terms of period products to be able to manage periods with dignity. That's 1. The second thing is taking off any taxes off of period products. So making sure that there's no import duty on pads, and there's no value added tax on period products. That's pads, wipes, and any tampons and materials that we need to manage our products. And I think that the 3rd thing would be water. Making sure that we need to tackle water, because again, a big part of menstrual hygiene is water. You need water to wash, to clean, and to be able to manage this period with dignity, because I think that sometimes that's where some of the stigma comes from. So if a girl and a woman has access to clean water, she's able to, take a bath as often as she needs to, wash herself, wash her clothes, wash her underwear as often as she needs to. And I think so with education, with removing taxes and giving access to water, we will be able to tackle period poverty as a serious nation.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is Yeside Olayinka Agbola. She's leading with heart and vision. Thank you so much for being a part of Jasiri. Menstruation is not a luxury, and dignity should never come at a cost. And that's what today's conversation reminded us, that poverty, period poverty, isn't just about access to pads. It's about power, it's about policy, and the courage to challenge shame with truth. As long as millions of girls miss school, suffer in silence, or feel unworthy because of something natural, we cannot claim progress. It's time to talk louder, push harder, and demand that menstrual health becomes a national priority, not an afterthought. And to every girl and woman who's ever felt invisible because of her period, we see you, we hear you, and on Jasiri we'll keep fighting with you and for you. Goodbye, guys, and see you tomorrow.
Bye. Thank you, Yeside.